Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. Right? It's Brother Thawam coming at you with these precepts and another cold cut. First and foremost, giving all honor and all glory unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the name of the Most High, who the world calls God. Yahweh Shai is the name of his only begotten Son, right? Who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Right. So in this particular cold cut, we're going back into the seven candlesticks, right? The menorah, and we were breaking down, the different aspects or different representations of the menorah. So on this particular one, we're going into the seven churches, right? So we're gonna kick it off with Revelation, right? Revelation chapter 1 and verse number 13. I'm gonna start at 11. It says, "And saying, I am Alpha and Omega, right? The first and the last, and what thou seest, write in a book." So this is Yahweh Shai, right? Who the world calls Jesus. He's speaking to John the Revelator, right? And he's giving him this revelation, right? He says, write it in a book and send it unto the seven churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus and unto Smyrna and unto Pergamos and unto Thyatira and unto Sardis and unto Philadelphia and unto Laodicea. So these are the seven churches that he's talking about, right? So when you see the menorah, you have to know and understand that the menorah is a representation of the seven churches. The seven candlesticks are the seven churches. One of the first lessons we went into was how the menorah is balanced with the seven, because you have the one going up the middle, and then you have three branches coming off on either side. So the seven is a number of completion. So these are the seven churches, right? That the book of Revelation is being written to on a carnal level, but then the seven churches on a spiritual level is the house of Israel, right? Verse number 12. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw seven golden candlesticks. That's a menorah. So John the Revelator is seeing a menorah, seven golden candlesticks, and in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man. So, in the midst of the seven candlesticks, the midst of the seven churches, you have Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, right? He is in the middle or in the midst of the churches, right? So, whenever the churches are assembled together, you're going to have Yahweh Shah there, right? That's what that's a representation of, right? He says, clothed with a garment down to the foot and gird about the paps with a golden girdle. When you jump down to verse number 20, he says, the mystery of the seven stars which thou sawest in my right hand, and the seven golden candlesticks. The seven stars are the angels of the seven churches, and the seven candlesticks which thou sawest are the seven churches. And when you read Revelations chapter 2 and chapter 3, he's giving um, exhortation and rebuke unto these different churches in their different locations, right? A lot of these churches were in Asia, Turkey, right? A lot of these churches were in different places, throughout what they call Asia Minor. So the church is, right, the Israelites. So I pulled this up, right? When you read in the New Testament, the word church is G1577, right? And it says a gathering of citizens called out of their homes, right? Called out from their homes into some public place and assembly, right? And then it goes on to say, it gives you bullets. The second bullet tells you straight up the assembly of the Israelites. So when you're reading about the churches, know that the churches are the assemblies of the Israelites, right? The seven churches are the assemblies of the Israelites. That's why when you read, let me get this in Hebrews chapter 10, all right, Hebrews 10, and I'm going to start at verse number 23. He says, let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works. So, as the church, as the Israelites, we have to consider each other, We can't consider the other nations. And a lot of times that's what our people like to do is, when we bringing up that we're the Israelites and we're God's chosen people, you're trying to invite the heathen, right? Chiefly the so-called white man, into our church, into our assembly, and they don't belong there, right? Right? But let us consider one another, right? The churches to provoke unto love and to good works. He says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. As the Israelites, we shouldn't be forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. So when there's an opportunity to come together for a holy convocation, we should be there. When there's an opportunity to show up and come together for the Sabbath day, we should be there. If a brother needs help moving, we should be there. If a brother or a sister, if they may need counsel, exhortation, we should be there, right? Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is, because you have some people that hate on camps, right? And it's not that, because some people don't have an opportunity to get with camps. They may be the only one in their area, or they may be the only one that believe a certain doctrine, and other camps don't believe what they teach, right? Or what they understand. So, that's one thing. But then to have camps that are around you and you just don't gather together, you're going off, right? You're going off. He says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching. And so in these last days, and we got to make sure that we're repenting, right? And we got to make sure that we're gathering together as a people. We have to gather together as a people. Why? When you read Matthew 18, right? When you read Matthew chapter 18 and verse number 19, it says, again, I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Right? So, hey, Yahweh Shai, he's going to be in the midst of the churches. That's what we read in Revelations 1 and 13, right? Yahweh Shai is in the midst of the seven candlesticks. He's in the middle of the churches. So whenever we are gathered together, right, in the spirit of the word, the spirit of the Lord is going out, right? The Bibles are open, right? Prophecies being spoken of. Whenever these things are going on, hey, Yahweh Shai is in the midst of that, right? Even in this live, I may be in this room by myself, but you have people that are listening and engaged in the words of the Lord. And Yahweh Shai is in the midst of this. You see that? So I'm going to read that again. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst thereof. So you can't forsake the assembling of the Israelites. You can't forsake gathering together with your people. That's why the Lord tells us, time and time again, you know, um, the mighty brother Nightquam, he brings this out every camp, right? Genesis chapter 49 and verse number 1, right? It says, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together that I may tell you what shall befall you in the last days. So we should be gathering together as a people, right? We should be gathering together as a people. This is Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. The Lord says, gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. So we have to gather together as a nation, right? We can't gather together. Once again, you can't be gathering together with unbelievers, right? You can't be gathering together with the heathen, right? You can't be gathering together when it concerns, the work of the Lord, and when it concerns your nation and upbuilding your people, right? You got to gather together with your people that are in this truth, that understand that we're the Israelites, that understand we have to keep the laws of the Most High. These are the people you're supposed to gather with, right? Gather together, O nation not desired, before the decree bring forth, before the day passes the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. So we got to be gathering together and working out our salvation and pushing one another unto good works, right? And understand that the Most High, right, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, is in the midst of us, right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse number 14, right? Even, back when we were at war, right? Even during the time of the Exodus, even during the time of when we were in the wilderness, right? The Lord said this, Deuteronomy 23 and 14, for the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp. So whenever the Israelites are gathering together, the Lord is walking in the midst of us, right? The Lord is in that. He says, to deliver thee. You see that? So when we're gathering together, hey, the Lord is with us to deliver us from the hand of the enemies. When these Bibles are open and we're discussing the precepts, hey, he can be delivering us from the hand of the enemy, right? He could be delivering us from certain sins that's beating us down. He could be delivering us from or getting us one step closer to salvation as our minds are being confirmed right in these last days, right? To deliver thee and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy. The camp has to be holy. The camp cannot be defiled with sin. It can't be defiled with the heathen. It can't be defiled with uncleanness. It can't be defiled with unbelief. It can't be defiled with wickedness. It can't be defiled with idolatry. It can't be defiled. So therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in thee and turn away from thee. And that's why we went into slavery, is because we were moving in wicked, unclean spirits. That's why all of these different, as you read in the book of Kings, how the Most High would give us over to hands of certain enemies, right? When you read throughout Judges, how every time the Israelites went off, they went into a different captivity. He raised up a judge, we come back, right? And then when we come back, we're supposed to be trying to keep the commandments, and then we start going off again. So then the Lord raised up another heathen to bring us into captivity. Now we crying to the Lord, asking to forgive us, and then He got to raise up another judge for us. So now we get delivered again. We come back to Israel, and then we start going off again. And that's been the cycle of our people. So now we went through slavery here in America, the transatlantic slave trade, and we're still here, right? The Lord has turned away from us, right? I'm gonna read that last part again. He says that he see no unclean thing in thee and turn away from thee. So the Lord will turn his back to us, right? He'll turn away from us. And when he turns away from us, who's going to turn to us? Satan, these demons, these heathens, waiting to rule over us, waiting to put us into subjection, right? You know the phrase they say, we're stronger when we're together. So we can't allow light skin versus dark skin, or black versus brown, or I don't know, tall versus short, or whatever type of devices that Satan has set up with our people to have us against each other. We got to let all of that go, right? All of this. Michael Jordan versus LeBron James, or what team is better, or whatever. All of that stuff that divides us, we got to let that go, and we have to gather together as a people, but we have to gather together in holiness. That's what the church is. It's not just you coming together. Just because you got a mob of Israelites doesn't mean that that's the church. That doesn't mean that that's a holy convocation. That's just niggas coming together. Right? A cookout is not a holy convocation, right? But if brothers are gathering together and we may be eating and drinking and making merry, but at the same time we're moving in the spirit of the Lord, we got to, you know, you cooking clean foods. Your mind is set on the laws of the Lord. Your mind is set on correcting your brother and having a good time in righteousness. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But the true church, the true holy convocation, is when we're coming together, right, under the words of the Lord, right, and that's the spirit we want to be moving in, right. So I'm gonna get this in Zechariah chapter 4, all right, Zechariah, all right, chapter 4. And this, I knew this was going to be a short video, but I didn't think it was going to be this short. All right, Zechariah chapter 4 and verse number 2, it says, and said unto me, what seest thou? And I said, I have looked, and behold, a candlestick of all gold, right? And like we went over, that candlestick, the seven candlesticks, that's the menorah, that's the representation of the seven churches, right? And when you go into the tabernacle and when you go into the temple, this menorah is set up to light the whole place up. So he sees this candlestick, right, of all gold with a bowl upon the top of it, and his seven lamps thereon, and seven pipes to the seven lamps which are upon the top thereof. Right? So that's the churches. Verse 3. And two olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl, and the other upon the left side of the bowl. Right? And on one of the previous lessons, we went into the trees, right? And how the olive tree produces the olive oil, and that goes into your wisdom, right? So the seven churches, when we gather together, we are supposed to be gathering together with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? We're not supposed to be gathering together in wickedness, right? We're not supposed to be gathering together to smoke or, get excessively drunk, or to be trying to hit licks or fornicate or whatever the case is. We're supposed to be gathering together to exalt the name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, right? So the two olive trees, right? The seven candlesticks. I'm gonna go to Revelation chapter 11, right? Revelations chapter 11, and I'm gonna get straight to the point. Revelation chapter 11, in verse number 3. It says, "And I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,203 score days, clothed in sackcloth." Right, and these two witnesses, right, is the Israelites, right, the elect. You got the house of Israel, you have the house of Judah. Right? You got the northern kingdom, you got the southern kingdom. Right? You also have, you got the law and the prophets, right? So, verse number 4, these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. You see that? And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. So, the churches, the Lord set up, men in these last days. He set up these prophets. He set up these men of the Lord to come out and to push his work, right? And to do his will. And these men are going to have certain levels of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And these men are going to move in the righteous spirits of our forefathers, right? Let me get this in Second Ezra chapter 1 and verse number, I'm going to start at 38. It says, "And now, brother, behold, what glory, and see the people that cometh from the east," right? Talking about the Israelites. And when you're reading this chapter, the latter part of this chapter, he's speaking about how he's going to cut off the Israelites of that time and then bring up Israelites in the future, right? He speaks on that's what he's speaking about, right? And we are those people, right? We are these people that he's talking about. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to 34, right? Second Ezra 1 and 34. "And your children shall not be fruitful, for they have despised my commandment and done the thing that is evil before me." And he says, watch this. "Your houses will I give to a people that shall come." This is talking about generations later. That's talking about this generation. "And your houses will I give to a people that shall come, which have not, so like it, which not having heard of me shall believe me, to whom I have shown no signs, yet they shall do that I have commanded them." And that's us. We haven't seen the Red Sea split. We haven't seen uh, chariots come down and smite the enemies. We haven't seen angels manifest themselves and do these great miracles and these great wonders like we read about in these scriptures. But we believe it. We believe these things has happened. We believe that they're still happening, even though we may not see them with bodily eyes. And we know and truly believe that the second coming of Yahweh Shai is going to happen, that we're going to receive salvation, that these chariots that they call UFOs, they're going to come and beam us up out of this place. We believe that, right? He says, "Yet shall they do all," so like it, "yet they shall do that I have commanded them. They have seen no prophets, yet they shall call their sins to remembrance and acknowledge them. I take to witness the grace of the peoples to come, whose little ones rejoice in gladness. And though they have not seen me with bodily eyes, yet in spirit they believe the thing that I say. See that? That was everything that I was just going into through the spirit. He says, and now, brother, behold what glory, and see the people that cometh from the east, unto whom I will give for leaders Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Oseas, right? Hosea, Amos, and Micaiah, right? Micah, Joel, Abdias, right? Obadiah, and Jonas, Nahum, and Habakkuk, right? Habakkuk, Zephaniah, right? Aggius, right? Zachary and Malachi, which is called also an angel of the Lord. So on two levels, you got these prophets, these men back on the earth right now calling out to our people, telling our people to repent, calling out to our people, telling our people to come back to the Lord as the Israelites, right? And then on another level, on another fold, all of these men are our forefathers. All of these men are men that are in these Bible, that are in the scriptures, and all of these men are men that we go back and we read about and we learn from them, right? We go back and we read the book of Zephaniah. We read about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We read about how our forefathers, King David, moved. We read about these different prophets. And the Lord said that they're also called the angel of the Lord because angels go out and they minister, right? Angels go out and they bring the message forth. And so, us as the church, we have to be ready to receive the message, right, with all readiness of mind and spirit, right? And I'm ready to close up through the spirit, but I wanted to get two more through the spirit, right? Two more through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? Second Chronicles 7 and 14, right? He says, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. So going back, he says, if my people, which are called by my name, let's go to the book of Numbers. Numbers chapter 6. Come on. Numbers chapter 6, and I'm going to start at verse 23. He says, I'm going to start at 22. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. You see that? These are the blessings that Aaron and the priests said unto the children of Israel, right? And we read how when we're not keeping the commandments, the Lord, or when we're unclean, right, and the Lord is walking in the midst of us in Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter, he'll turn his back to us. But here in number 6 and 26, the blessing is the Lord lift up his countenance upon thee. This is when he's upon us, right? When he's facing us and he's we're doing things that are delightful in his sight, which is keeping the commandments. He says, and give thee peace. And he'll give us peace, right? He'll give us that peace. And this will be the peace, when Yahweh Shai come, the peace that he's going to give is going to be more abundant than the peace that we had while we were ruled in Solomon's kingdom. That was 40 years of peace. And that was a complete amount of time of peace. But here, when Yahweh Shai comes, he's going to be that Prince of Peace, and it's going to reign forever. We'll forever be in peace as a race, as a nation of people. You don't have to worry about people running up on you at the ATM machine. You don't have to worry about your people killing each other. You don't have to worry about your people being killed unarmed and unjustly by the heathen. You won't have to worry about these things, right? Verse 27, and they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. You see that? So now when we go back to Second Chronicles 7 and 14, he says, if my people, which are called by my name, this is the Israelites that he's talking about, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, when we repent, when we get our spirits right through the Spirit of the Lord, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. And that's what we're waiting for. So the seven churches, We're not just, I mean, our people are scattered abroad. You read about that in the curses, Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. When you read Deuteronomy 4 and 27, 4 and 27, he tells you he's going to scatter us among all of the heathen and we'll be small. So the seven churches are scattered abroad, but just because we're scattered abroad, that don't mean that we just scattered abroad and we're just submitting ourselves to the heathen. No, we're waiting on salvation. We're waiting for the Lord to gather us, right? And I'm gonna close up with this in First Chronicles chapter 16, and I'm gonna start at 34, right? And this is one of the songs or one of the Psalms of David when he was bringing the Ark of the Covenant back to Jerusalem, right? First Chronicles 16:34. Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever, forever. Verse 35, watch this. And say ye, save us, O God of our salvation. Save us. We're waiting on salvation. When you read Luke, the first chapter, he let you know that salvation is being saved from an enemy, from the hand of the people that oppress us, right? Save us, O God of our salvation, and gather us together and deliver us from the heathen that we may give thanks to thy holy name and glory in thy praise. And that's what the churches are doing. They're waiting for the salvation of the Lord. The churches aren't, like I said, just sitting around trying to make it just make their best here in America, right? We're not what's Lil Duval, I'm living my best life. We're not living our best life here. We're doing the best that we can while we're here, but we're not living our best life here. We know we're slaves, right? We know that we're still under subjection to these heathens, right? Verse 36. Blessed be Yahweh, God of Israel, forever and ever. And all the people said, Amen, and praise Yahweh, right? So the seven candlesticks, that's the seven churches. The seven churches are scattered abroad, right? And I pray Israel forgive me, and I pray the Lord forgive me. Running low on time, got to get to camp. But the seven churches, right? The menorah or the seven candlesticks is a representation of the seven churches, all right? And I'll get this real quick through the Spirit as well, right? I was supposed to close up with that, but Amen. Spirit. Acts chapter 7 and verse number 38. It says, I'm gonna start at 37. This is that Moses, which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear. Right? That's in Deuteronomy, verse 38. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness. This is Yahweh Shai. He's speaking about Yahweh Shai being with us and leading us and guiding us in the wilderness. We read in Matthew 18 and 20, right, that he said that when two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst thereof, right? Roughly paraphrasing. So it says, this is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers who received the lively oracles to give unto us. So Yahweh Shai was the one that was giving us the commandments, right? The oracles are the commandments, the laws, the words of the Lord. And we, being the church, have to be under subjection to the laws. And when we're under subjection and we're doing what we got to do, Lord willing, you get the confidence to go out and you teach your people. You let your light shine and let people, you want to be leading people to the Lord in any way you can. And if you're leading people to the Lord indirectly just by you being you and walking in the spirit, and they see you walking in the spirit and they inquire of your spirit and what's going on with you, well, why are you wearing those fringes? Okay, how come you don't eat pork? How come you don't work on Saturdays? When they start asking these questions, yeah, you can have an opportunity to let your light shine, right? And so, Lord willing, we move in those righteous spirits, right? And come. But with that, we're going to close up through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. I'm Lord willing. This was edifying, right? The seven candlesticks represents the seven churches, right? And the seven churches were the churches of what they call Asia Minor in Turkey, right? But now we understand through the spirit, the seven churches is the whole house of the children of Israel, right? The house of Judah, the house of Israel, right? Northern kingdom, southern kingdom, all 12 tribes of the children of Israel. We are the church, and we have to gather together in holiness and not gather together as niggas and thoughts and whatever type of BS name they want to put on us, right? But Lord willing, this was edifying. Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah, Barakathum, Shabbat, Shalom, Israel. Shalom, Shalom.